I wasn't supposed to be home. A canceled meeting landed me back 2 hours early. Unplanned. Unannounced. No dramatic entrance. Just the familiar jingle of my keys on the kitchen counter. The soft creak of the front door easing shut behind me. But something felt off. The house wasn't quiet. It was too quiet. I moved down the hallway, footsteps light against the hardwood. Then I heard it. Low voices, soft moans, laughter, the rhythmic creak of a bed being used for anything but sleep. My jaw locked. My stomach flipped. I didn't freeze. I stepped into the bedroom. There they were. Jess. My wife. Tangled in the sheets, skin bare, limbs entwined with a man I didn't recognize. Shirtless. Smirking. One hand gripping her thigh, the other clutching the headboard like he owned the place. I didn't scream. Didn't yell. I moved. In a single motion, I grabbed a fistful of his hair and yanked him backward off the bed. He hit the floor hard, yelling in pain, scrambling to rise. But I was already on him. He swung. Sloppy. Desperate. I ducked, pivoted, and drove a punch into his jaw with everything I had. His head snapped back. Legs buckled. Out cold. Jess shrieked, scrambling for the sheets. I didn't even glance at her. Not yet. I reached into the pocket of his crumpled jeans, pulled out his phone, and pressed his limp thumb against the screen. Unlocked. Contacts. Favorites. There she was, Mel Wifeheart. I tapped her name. She picked up on the third ring. Hey babe, did you forget? This isn't your husband, I said, voice flat. It's the man you married, yes, but not the man you thought you married. That man is unconscious. Because I just caught him, pants off in my bed with my wife. Silence. Yeah. You might want to come pick up your trash, I said. He'll be on the floor, right where he belongs. I ended the call before she could respond. Only then did I look at Jess. She stood frozen, trembling beneath the sheets, silent, like the blow had struck her too. I didn't speak. I just turned and walked out, heading downstairs with the steady calm of a storm receding. I made coffee, not because I needed the caffeine, but because I needed the stillness. Something slow, something controlled. The doorbell rang while I was still sipping. I didn't rush. Couldn't. If I went back up there too soon, I'd lose the grip I just forced around the chaos inside me. So I waited for the next move. Came quickly. Ding dong. I rose, walked to the door, and opened it. There she was. Mid-30s. Black skirt. Keys clenched in one hand. Confused. And then, when she saw me, something darker. Suspicion. And fear. You're the one who called, she said. Yeah. I nodded. You must be Melissa. She stepped inside without a word. Where is he? I didn't answer, just tilted my head toward the stairs. She didn't hesitate, heels or not, she took them two at a time. I followed, slower. Part of me didn't want to witness what was coming. The other part needed to. We reached the bedroom. He was awake barely, perched on the edge of the bed, an ice pack pressed to his jaw. Jess had probably fetched it, now standing near the dresser like a shadow, shaking in her skin. Melissa didn't say a word. She just looked at him, her husband of over 10 years. Then at Jess, the woman who'd crushed 2 marriages in a single night. Then she laughed. Soft, bitter, like the truth had finally stopped hiding. Slap. Her palm cracked across his cheek. Sharp, clean. Not rage, just closure. I sold my car, she said. Last month. Sold it to help you cover rent for your startup, while you were screwing around in someone else's house. He stayed silent. Jess tried. Melissa, I didn't know. You didn't know he was married? Melissa turned, voice like a knife. You didn't know he had a wife pulling 60-hour weeks to keep your fantasy afloat, while he turned strangers' beds into office space? Jess opened her mouth, but no words came. Melissa looked back at me. Thanks for calling. I figured the truth deserved an audience, I said. Melissa gave a single, cold nod, then turned to the man still holding ice to his face. I'll send the divorce papers next week, she said, voice like frost. You can sign them once your jaw works again. And with that, she walked out. Jess turned to me, eyes wide, shimmering with guilt. I didn't know he was married. I swear. I don't care if he was married or the Pope. I cut in. What matters is what you did. Her lips trembled. It was just a mistake. No, I said, pointing around the wreckage of what used to be our life. Forgetting an anniversary? That's a mistake. This was a decision. Her voice cracked. What do you mean? I'm not hitting you, I said. I'm not yelling. I'm not tossing your clothes onto the lawn. Pause. But you're going to wish I had. Let the collapse begin. 3 hours after Melissa walked out, I filed the first set of documents. Divorce. Immediate separation. Grounds, adultery with evidence. Photos from the front door cam. Texts pulled from her iCloud backup. And if necessary, witness statements from Melissa and Kyle, the limp excuse of a man she'd chosen. My lawyer glanced up from the paperwork. This is about as airtight as it gets. You sure you want to go nuclear? I didn't blink. No alimony. No shared property. I keep the house. Full control of the finances. She leaves with whatever fits in her hands. He let out a low whistle. She's gonna fight it. I smiled. Then she's gonna lose. Back at the house, Jess sat on the couch like something drained of color. She didn't ask where I'd been. She didn't have to. The silence pressed down on us like the ceiling might cave. Then, quietly, she asked, "Are you really doing this?" I nodded, settling across from her. "You brought him into our bed, Jess." I made a mistake. I wasn't thinking. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I laughed, once. Dry. Bitter. You weren't thinking? You sent him nudes from the bathroom while I was in the next room. You told him you loved the way he made you feel. You called him your escape. My voice dropped. That doesn't sound like someone who wasn't thinking. That sounds like someone who got bored and didn't have the guts to say so. She flinched. The words hit her harder than my fist had hit him. You said we were in a rut, she whispered. No, you were in a rut. I was building a life. I didn't yell, didn't call her names. I just handed her the sealed envelope. Her hands shook as she opened it. Her eyes moved over the pages. Divorce petition, asset breakdown, a neat list of evidence. You already filed. Her voice cracked. I met her gaze steady. I filed before the blood dried on his mouth. But this wasn't just about ending a marriage, it was about ending her comfort. The car? In my name. Already reported for transfer. She had 48 hours to return it, or it'd be flagged for repossession. The joint account? Emptied the moment I left my lawyer's office. Credit cards? Disabled. Her gym membership, streaming apps, phone plan, all tied to accounts I controlled. And I gave her 1 week to find somewhere else to stay. You chose him. My voice was ice. You don't get to live off me anymore. First, she just sat there, stunned. Then came the shift, shock to pleading. Tears. Apologies. Even guilt. You're really going to leave me with nothing? No, I said, cold. You did that to yourself. I'm just handing you the invoice. It took 2 days for her silence to break, for the tears to dry and the gears to turn. Damage control. She came to me with soft eyes, voice laced with rehearsed calm. Maybe we could slow this down, she said carefully. Work through it. I've been reading about counseling. I let her talk, let her cling to the illusion, because the silence that followed made the fall sharper. Jess, I said quietly, you're not coming back from this. You chose a stranger over me, let him into our home, our bed. You didn't even lock the door behind him. There's no version of this where we heal. There's only the ending, and you're lucky I'm giving you a clean one. She stood there, frozen, and then her face hardened. So that's it? She asked, voice rising. After everything we built, you're just going to throw it all away? I tilted my head. You mean like you did with your clothes that night? She opened her mouth, ready to strike back, but nothing came, just silence. She made her next move the following day. She called her mother, then her sister, then her 2 closest friends. I saw the text thread later. How she painted me as cold, heartless, emotionally abusive. Said I'd snapped without warning. Claimed it was just a fling, that she'd been trying to fix us. But I'd become violent, unstable. And just like that, the smear campaign was in motion. But what she didn't know was that I was already 3 steps ahead. The truth? I shared it with receipts. My boss to keep workplace gossip in check. A few mutual friends who'd sensed the shift and deserved clarity. Melissa, Kyle's wife, who had her own reasons to confirm every word. I didn't blast it online, didn't rant, didn't drag her through the digital dirt. I did worse, I made sure no one believed her. I forwarded the texts, the screenshots, the footage, quietly, strategically. One by one, her defenders went silent. Friends who once stood neutral started backing away. By the time she tearfully called my mother for sympathy, hoping for rescue, my mom was already waiting. I raised a good man, she told her. And you walked all over him. Don't call here again. Jess tried one last move, a desperate Hail Mary. She stormed into the office with a counterproposal. Half the house, half the savings. Compensation for emotional distress caused by her words, my public humiliation of her. My attorney didn't flinch, just smiled and slid a folder across the table. Evidence package. 30 printed pages. Time-stamped messages between her and Kyle. GPS syncs putting her at his place for overnights. Photos, some in public, some not. And Melissa's written statement, clear and damning. Jess didn't speak, didn't even blink, just stared at the folder like it might explode. If she contests, my lawyer said calmly, we'll see her in court, and we'll seek damages. Emotional fraud, reputational harm, attorney's fees. That night, Jess packed what she could carry and walked out. The next morning, she signed the divorce papers. No alimony, no payout, no fight, just silence. And that silence was the sound of her empire falling to ash. Aftermath. 3 weeks after she signed, her name was gone from everything that mattered. The deed, the utilities, the insurance, even the damn Netflix profile. She became a ghost in the house she once ruled. I changed the locks the next morning, not out of spite, but for closure. A final line drawn. And in the days that followed, the fallout spread on its own. She didn't blast it on social media. She didn't have to. People talk. And I didn't need to feed the fire, I just let them connect the dots. Why she lost her job. Her lover, Kyle, was a vendor our company worked with. His wife went public. His company pulled the contract. And her employer didn't want the drama. Why she moved into a cramped rental across town. Why her calls started going unanswered. Her texts left unread. No screaming. No spectacle. Just the slow, cold drift of consequences. I didn't rush into dating. I focused on rebuilding, hit the gym, poured myself into work, started sleeping again without wondering if the body next to me was lying in more ways than one. I saw a therapist, worked through a different kind of guilt, not for what I'd done, but for what I'd tolerated. For how long I let her fool me. That was the real wound, how blind I'd been. But not anymore. Months later, a mutual friend spotted her at a grocery store. Said she looked drained. Tired, hollow, still trying to spin the story. Still clinging to the role of victim. But nobody was listening. As for Kyle, he left a week after the ink dried. Said the baggage wasn't worth it. She reached out once. A text. I miss you. I made a mistake. Can we talk? I didn't reply. I just archived it and smiled. Because that was the real revenge. Not the knockout punch. Not the legal precision. Not even the quiet unraveling of her reputation. It was the fact that she had to live inside the mess she made, while I walked away and rebuilt. Stronger, wiser, untouchable. Was this justice? Or did it go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love stories of cold, calculated revenge, make sure to hit that subscribe button and smash the like for more tales that hit just as hard. Your support means everything. Thanks for being part of the story.